Welcome back to another episode of the Stained Arrow Podcast.
Going. All right, welcome back, YouTube. We're trying to hop back on the podcast train. I've got my buddy here to do a podcast with us. The topic today is going to be trail cameras. As you see, I have my trusty old spy point here. We'll get to that in a little bit later, but I'm going to have my buddy here introduce himself. Daniel, tell us who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about your background, what you do for work.
So my name's Daniel Parker. I'm a father. I have 2 daughters, 1 son. I work a 9-to-5 job just like everybody else. I do information technology, voice, telephony, and I'm going to explain this black eye so that everybody knows what's going on here. So I got a new bow, and the first time I went to shoot it, the cable slide?
The cable slide.
The cable slide. I don't know how this happened. Either my release got caught when I shot it, the string on it that's supposed to wrap around your wrist, and it either slung my release into my cable slide, or the cable slide just blew up and hit me in the eye. And so I ordered all the parts for that, and waiting for those to come in, but just wanted to explain that so I don't go through this whole thing with a black eye and not say anything about it, because that's kind of weird. So
Yeah.
Anyway,
So tell us when you started hunting.
Well, my hunting background is definitely different than most people. I know a lot of people, probably yourself included, grew up most likely hunting with their family, or whatever, hunting on private property, or even going to public with their friends and family. But I didn't really hunt at all when I was a kid. I hunted squirrel, small game, but I didn't really get into hunting until hunting whitetail until I met my wife, and then her dad was already into hunting, nothing like we are now. I mean, he just hunted basically when gun season opened on public land. We would hunt maybe a month out of the year, just weekends, maybe 4 weekends a year or whatever. We were very unsuccessful. I think out of 5 years of hunting, he maybe killed 2 deer.
Yeah.
And so I gave up, and here recently I basically quit for about 5 years until 2 years ago I got back into it and started hunting around the public that we hunt now. And
Yeah. So would you say your father-in-law is the one that got you back into hunting?
he's the one that got me started hunting when I got older, hunting whitetail. But I kind of gave up after 5 or 6 years of hunting without killing 1 deer. It kind of starts to wear on you. So I was just like, I'm not a very good hunter. So my buddy Todd, who I grew up with, he's the one that got me back into it 2 years ago.
Okay.
So
Well, I know you're into it now. Y'all killed 20 deer this year?
19. So between me, him, and my father-in-law, he killed like 10. I killed 4, and my father-in-law killed 5.
That's pretty impressive.
Pretty good, but we kill everything that moves.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So what would you say that your goals are moving forward, like next year and the year beyond?
I think that I always just I think that's something. I'm the type of person where when I get in, I move to different hobbies, and I just landed back on hunting 2 years ago. And normally I get tired of something and I'll go to something else, whether it's bowling, golf, whatever it is. But this is the first time when I got back into hunting this time, and I killed that first deer. The next year, which was this year, was to kill a bigger buck. Yeah. Since I was successful.
Well, you did kill that pretty good
I did
buck.
kill a bigger buck. And so now, I guess this year, it would be to tag out, because I only killed 1 buck this year. So it just seems like it never stops. So I got a whole bunch of little mini games.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of those. But I would just say be successful. And my version of successful in hunting, which is just kill a few deer, have fun, and try to beat what I did last year.
Yeah.
So.
Well, really, it's not a competitive hunter to hunter. It's always trying to beat yourself, like what
that's
you did
true.
previously.
That is true.
I'd say probably some of my goals for next year is I'm planning on hunting Colorado, so I'm hoping to have some success with my elk hunt in Colorado.
That would be nice.
Yeah, I have a child on the way. So,
That's nice.
Yeah, there's that.
That's a pretty big deal, man.
It's a pretty big deal, man.
Yeah. I wonder if you'll be going elk hunting and stuff once the baby comes,
We'll see. Kirsten, She says she's letting me go, but
Yeah.
we'll see when that time comes.
Yeah, we'll see.
But,
she may though. My wife's pretty supportive. I mean, I have a pretty awesome wife. She doesn't really care, so it definitely varies depending on.
Yeah, man, Kirsten's great. My wife's great. She understands and knows like what hunting is in my life.
Yeah.
Especially like that Western hunt for me. It's like, so I feel like men in general have this desire to be in like the wilderness.
Yeah.
And that's like, you know, the week to 10 days that I spend out west is like me being able to be with my creator, and as a man trying to be masculine in a world that we live in, that's my time to kind of be in the wilderness. So she kind of understands that's kind of how I reset and you know, adapt to the society that we live in. But apart from that, I'd really like to actually connect on the deer that I shot this year. I shot a really big buck earlier in the season and lost him to the river.
Yeah,
I don't know if you remember.
I don't remember that, but
so in the velvet hunt, remember when I had that dog come out and try?
Oh, I do remember that actually.
Yeah,
For
so
whatever reason, I thought that was last year, but I do remember that now.
Yeah, I shot that. Matter of fact, that shed right there.
Oh, that's who it's from.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that buck that I shot was
That's a pretty decent sized deer for
was this
Tennessee,
buck.
man.
And I lost him to the river, so that kind of hurt me. I lost another deer, and I changed broadheads and had success after that. But
What were you using?
well, I was using the Magnus stingers, and not that I'm against Magnus or fixed blades at all, but I had changed to the I think they're the 269 Levi Morgan edition Swackers.
Yeah.
And that's that buck that I killed over there.
Let's put it on
the
camera
very-
so they can see.
It's like the third day that I had bought them things. I shot this deer and it was like a dang murder scene, dude. There was blood everywhere.
With a schwacker.
With a Swacker, man. Complete pass through. I mean, it just obliterated this deer.
And again, we're in Tennessee, so I know some of you guys probably. That's not it. To us, that's a pretty decent sized deer around where we hunt. There's a lot bigger deer than that, but that's a good deer, especially with a bow.
We'll definitely get into the big deer discussion because I've got pictures of some pretty monster bucks that I'll be chasing next year.
Oh yeah,
and we'll get into that with the trail cam stuff here. But I guess my one of my first questions for you, since we're going to get on the trail cam topic, is do you like trail cameras? And then what's your personal opinion about them?
well, I would say going back to what I said initially about, you know, when I first started hunting with my father-in-law, we were really unsuccessful and we didn't kill but 2 deer and he killed both of those. And we didn't use any trail cameras. We didn't even, to be honest with you, we didn't even know what trail cameras were. We didn't know that at that time there were no cellular cameras, but we didn't even know about the ones that, you know, that are non-cellular. And we hunted an hour or so away from the house, so it didn't really make sense for us to go out there and put trail cameras. We just didn't have anybody to show us. We didn't, you know enough about them. But now we use trail cameras, as you know, and we use the cellular ones. And since we've started using cell cameras, he's killed 5 or 6 deer over the past couple of years, and I've killed 5 or 6 deer out of the past couple of years. So I would say I have to like them. Yeah, I mean, definitely.
Well, we'll follow that rabbit in a minute because that directly correlates to a question that I'm going to ask you here in a little bit. But as far as me, I like trail cameras. My personal opinion on them. They can help you or hinder you just depending on the situation.
Mm-hmm.
I know as far as later in the season this past year, it probably hurt me having all the trail cameras out that I did because there was a specific buck that I was hunting, a real big one, and I had got pictures of him 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And then I didn't get pictures of him, and it kept me out of the woods.
Yeah.
So
I can see that, yeah.
So not getting the pictures and stuff that I wanted kind of kept me from going hunting when I probably should have been going hunting.
That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, that's a good reason.
Yeah, trail cameras. I feel like trail cameras they can help you.
Yeah.
But they can also deceive you.
Yeah. Yeah, they can.
Yeah. As far as the ethics of trail cameras. Do you think trail cameras are ethical as a hunter? I would say we're probably both along the same lines. I don't have a problem with cameras. I don't think they're unethical. I don't think they necessarily put you in a situation that, like, if you get a picture right then, you're gonna go kill that deer. I don't think that's
right. I do disagree. I do think I don't like it when people sit on the fence whenever when they talk, but I do think they are a little unethical.
Yeah.
I do think it does give you advantage.
Yeah, well, they definitely give you advantage.
I just said, I hunted 5 years with no cameras at all and never killed a deer, and then as soon as I start running cameras, I'm picking which deer I want to shoot. So I mean, I do think it's unethical, but I do like using them. I think it's a little unethical, but I do think it's unethical, and that if they did take them away, I would understand why.
Yeah, well, they're doing away with it. I don't know if you know this, but they've done away with it in New Mexico.
Oh, really?
Kansas
I didn't know that.
fixing to have some kind of laws with or they have already passed laws with the trail cam stuff. And there's
Iowa?
I'm not sure if it's Iowa. I
know
there's
land?
Iowa. There's a couple states that are like that. Iowa might be one.
And it may vary, but it may vary depending on what county or piece of WMA or public core land you're hunting. So there may be certain states where it's on and off. So I don't know, but I have heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
so as far as along those lines, I guess we disagree just a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't think they're necessarily crazy unethical. I do think they give you an advantage on the deer. But I also don't think that the advantage is such an advantage that the deer can't survive, because obviously
they can't.
Them deer. I've got 3 big ones on camera that I still haven't connected with.
No, I agree with that, and it definitely makes it more fun. And if they did take the cameras away, if TWRA decides next year we can't hunt with trail cameras, I am going to be a little sad. But I do understand. I would understand. And it definitely would make it less fun, because looking at the cameras and
the pictures are always fun, especially over the summer when you're trying to find that big deer that you're chasing. I love the preseason pictures and stuff. But.
Well, for me, it was kind of funny because I didn't even once the season was over last year. Of course, we only had like 3 trail cameras last year. I kind of just like stopped everything. I didn't look at my cameras until like, I'd say 2 or 3 weeks before season started. Then I started going back and looking at all my pictures. But it's like I turned off. I haven't done that this year yet. I'm still into it. Yeah.
So you guys that are watching this, y'all let me know down in the comments below if you think that trail cameras are ethical or unethical for hunters. Moving on to our next question. How do you implement cameras into your hunting strategy?
I mean, the biggest thing about cameras for me, especially being somebody who's not a very advanced hunter, somebody who's learning a lot still, that's way behind the curve compared to most people, probably 90% of hunters, it allows me to confirm what I think. So if I think that there's a buck coming out to the corner of this field at a certain time, or just in general, just at all, if I see him there in daylight, it's reaffirming that I'm doing the right thing. Yeah. And if I don't see him, I'm like, oh, well, let me try that again. And if it doesn't work again, maybe I just scrap that when I'm scouting. Yeah. So it just helps me a lot, kind of reaffirm when you're not talking to people. You can learn by yourself using the equipment, the cameras that you have to make sure you're doing the right stuff when you're scouting and looking for deer.
Yeah.
So
for me, the way that I use cameras for my hunting strategy is like, well, that I'm more of I try to target specific deer.
Yeah.
So I'll use my cameras in the preseason and also during the season to try to target that specific deer that I'm looking for, and kind of figure out how I'm going to approach that deer. With the next question that I'm going to ask you is, for you, what makes a good place for a trail camera? And I'll go ahead and answer this for myself.
I want to know what you think.
Because this last question, so for instance, like there was 2 deer that I was hunting this year.
Yeah.
I can't even remember what I named one, but I had a really big deer. He is real skinny rack, but he was big and wide and tall tines up on that ridge off the water. I don't know if you remember me sending you that picture, but I had this deer early rut, and throughout the middle of the rut come into a scrape, and I could never get him during daylight. So I had one camera on that ridge top, right, and I didn't move any other cameras because it was I wouldn't say the most difficult spot to get to, but it was kind of out of the way,
right?
So I didn't move more cameras to that area.
Because you didn't feel like doing it?
Well, partly,
right.
But it was difficult to get in and out because I got to go in by water, or walk like several miles to get there,
right?
Which is also a pain because you got to walk up that big hill.
You're talking about where we tried to go, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I know what you're talking about now.
So, how I would implement a strategy for that specific deer is I would try to find like where bedding is.
Yeah.
And then from bedding to where I know deer are moving, find like something that funnels those deer.
Like food?
Not necessarily food, but maybe terrain. So find like a saddle, like a saddle where
it's just going to be easier.
It's a
for
natural.
Them to,
It's the terrain itself naturally funnels deer the way that they're going to go.
And so you would put the camera on that pinch point, or where do you think they're coming out of the bedding?
Yeah, pinch point. Well, a funnel and a pinch point are about the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's a area that funnels deer that pinches them down to a specific area.
How do you confirm that? Is that what you're doing? Is that what you're saying? That's what you're doing with the camera? Is you're putting it there to confirm it, or do you already kind of know before you put the camera there that you're going to have pictures because of tracks, or what are you looking for?
So for me, just because I spent so much time on like Onyx and like Google Maps and stuff like that,
you kind of know.
And I know what I'm looking for because I've done it for so long that I know generally deer are going to be in a specific spot. Now, if I can target a specific deer in that area, if I can identify those certain terrain features, funnels, saddles,
and it doesn't even have to just be like topographical. It could be like
it doesn't have to be
it
topographical.
It could be like thick or not thick.
So I was about to say another thing that I really like to do is find edge. So I have I don't know if anybody else uses this terminology, but I have a thing that I call a hard edge and a soft edge.
Oh.
So like a hard edge will be like super thick stuff, like real thick privet or something like in the woods. And if I can find something that's real thick like that,
cedars,
if I can find something like super thick like that, but then it opens up into like a little softer edge where it's not as thick, but there's
like a staging area,
Yeah. I'll try to find areas where I can put a camera there to catch these deer wherever, if they're moving from bedding to food or from food to bedding.
Maybe catch them coming out of bedding into that area.
Yep.
Yeah, mine's definitely not that strategic, I'll tell you that right now. Mine is more of, I just try to find, and this has been working for me. Last year, myself, I probably put out 3 or 4 cameras, and I was just kind of going out in the woods, and if I seen a bunch of rubs, I was putting a camera in that area, and I was not very successful. I would see some deer, but not like I did this year. And this year, after like doing a lot of research and watching what other people do on YouTube and watching podcasts and just listen, the main thing that I kept hearing was diversity. And so what I try to do is find a place that has like a water, some kind of, whether it's a pond or close to within 100 yards of that's easy where we hunt, finding water, and
lots
then
of water.
As many, like maybe a cedar patch and maybe a clear cut, just a bunch of stuff buttoned up together. And then if I see deer tracks in that area, I will try to figure out, where do I know they're coming from and where do I know they're going to? Like, I've been wrong a lot of times trying to figure that part out, but I'll just keep moving the camera around in that area, and it's amazing moving it 50 feet in the same area how much your pictures will change, the amount you get.
Well, that's true. To speak on that, with that buck that I was hunting earlier or late in the season, and talking about that deception of cameras, like when I was talking about sometimes the camera can hinder you by keeping you out of the woods. I mean, literally, you could turn that camera on the tree to the left or right or behind and get tons more pictures.
And it's like, and it is true. Like if you wake up and you don't go hunting, the first thing you do at around 9:30, 10 o'clock, maybe 10:30, is you look at your phone and you say, was there a bunch of pictures? No, well, I'm glad I didn't go.
Yeah.
There could have been deer all over the place. Yeah. I watched a guy do a test and put a bunch of cameras out in one area, and he counted how many deer went by and how many cameras were in the area and how many cameras caught that deer. And it would be like one or two would catch the deer with the cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
And it walked right through the area. They mess up too, you know.
Yeah,
they don't always do what they're supposed to do.
You have that camera out there at that one piece, and when it snowed, you weren't. There wasn't a lot of pictures on that camera, but you could definitely tell deer.
There was tracks.
There was tracks everywhere. In the snow.
After you said that, I went back and looked, and I had kind of noticed it, but I just initially assumed, maybe it was already like that. But you're right. There were tracks before that deer showed up. So. Who knows, man?
But yeah, man, we'll get together and we'll work on showing you that terrain features and stuff, where to put cameras and stuff. Do you remember?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
When we were hunting, I don't think it was late season, it was about mid-season, and I showed you that fence thing with the hair in the fence.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, that would be another spot.
Like a little pinch, like we know they're coming through there.
You know that they're coming in that area, and it's because where that fence was, how the terrain funneled them there.
Yeah,
that's how I assume that deer would be coming in that spot.
And for me, it's in the corner of a field, and that I didn't say that earlier, but that's another thing I've been looking at is corner of fields or corner of clear cuts. Right. I've been putting cameras on those and being successful.
That's another feature. That's another land feature or terrain feature that I really like to target.
I wonder why they're so attracted to it. Maybe that's just coincidental. Maybe it's something else they're attracted to in the corner of fields or clear cuts. Maybe it's because it butts up to another piece of habitat, but they are definitely deer are attracted to corner of whatever.
Well,
strange.
Deer are kind of creatures of edge, man.
Yeah.
Anytime there's some kind of edge,
they're on it.
They're going to be in it, on it, or
somewhere over there. Yeah.
So as far as you think trail cams have helped you?
There's no doubt about it. I actually wonder, I almost want to not use cameras next year just to see if I could do it. But then I'm like, nah, that would suck. That's boring.
I don't know. So this is the first year that I really used a camera to target deer during the season.
You mean this past season?
I've done it. I've done it before. So I've had deer show up on camera in the middle of the season, but I hadn't consistent success hunting a specific deer, which I didn't really have consistent success this year, except for I got multiple pictures and I started pursuing specific deer. But the problem, is I can never catch up with them. But in years past, I've never done that.
You've never used cameras before?
Well, no, I've used cameras, but I've never used them during the season to target a specific deer.
Oh, you're saying this year is you had a target deer you wanted to catch.
Well, yeah.
Catch him one morning slipping or something.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that as well as I hadn't got enough data to target a deer, if that makes sense. So I've never been able to consistently get.
It wasn't none of them's been predictable enough.
Right. But I've had that kind of this year with two different deer.
Yeah.
But they were never really daylighting. The public land that we hunt, it's.
That's what I was about to say. I think a lot of that just has a lot to do with where we hunt, and it's so easy for them to go 50 yards the other direction, and you never see them. So thick. And
yeah. Another thing, one of the reasons that I don't think that trail cameras are really unethical is because that specific instance, but it's really hard to catch up with a deer. It is. As you see that deer.
It is. But it keeps you active on that area if you're seeing stuff.
But also I think what's really good for trail cameras is future data. So I'll show you after this podcast, but I have a spreadsheet, like what's that thing called? I can't remember. It's like Excel, but it's not Excel. But I have a spreadsheet where I have specific deer in there, and like what times that
when they daylighted.
Well, not even that, is the days, the temperature,
to try to read their
to try to figure out why and what they're moving, like what the pattern is, like why are they coming at that time.
Yeah, I was trying to do that too, man. It just seems like I can't ever find any. It just seems like one day it's raining, one day it's not raining, one day it's dark, one day it's light, one day it's 50, one day it's 20. It's just like
that's true, but I'm hoping that that will somehow correlate to some success next year. So all that data. So as we start to finish up here and land this plane, Daniel and I are going to kind of start a new YouTube channel. We haven't come up with a name for it yet, but just kind of explain what we're going to be doing there.
Well, I mean, I guess we're going to just kind of just show whatever we're doing leading up to the season. But one of the things I'd like to do on that channel that we create is kind of try to get people that are watching the videos on our channel to give us suggestions for us to try, and we'll somehow make everybody aware of what we're, who suggested it, and then we'll create some kind of mini game, try it out, see if it works, and whoever has the best idea that was most successful, do some kind of prize or whatever. Nothing crazy, obviously. We're broke over here, but something.
We're not the hunting public yet.
But anyway, something like that.
Yeah, man. Thanks for being on the podcast, and y'all stay tuned for the YouTube channel to come. When we figure out the name and all the details for it, we'll get that back to you. But yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching, guys.
It wasn't too bad.
I don't think that was bad.
It was all right.
That was pretty good, bro.
Initially, it was kind of weird. I'm gonna tell you, when we go back and watch the first part, we're probably not gonna put that on you're not going to want to put that on your channel once you see what we look like initially.
I ain't worried about it, bro.
You don't care?
No, bro.